Well, what about this then? Your picture is actually in colour, it's not black and white, it's just that we've had a nice covering of snow for once, and very unusually in this modern day and age. Good 4 to 5 inches of snow where I live at home, and that is about 10 miles away from Eakring here, where I've come just on the off chance that there may be some migration. We're not talking red admirals, by the way. Of course, the migration that I'm talking about is of birds, and on cold weather periods like this, especially after a decent fall of snow, quite often a range of species can be seen moving to more milder climes to avoid the snow. That usually involves ground feeding birds, species like lapwing, maybe curlew, but quite often winter thrushes such as fieldfares and redwings. Since I've been here and since I've walked up to this particular point here at Red Hill, 18 fieldfare have come in from the northeast. They've landed in the trees just over my shoulder and have just moved off. So we may well get a little bit of migration. It would be nice if we did. I'd love to see some cold weather migration again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk just a little bit further up. We've got a nice vista and we can look for flocks coming in distantly, if they are going to. Although we've got the snow here in Nottinghamshire and areas sort of north and south, I don't know what sort of depths of snow there are north and south of Nottinghamshire. Ideally, you would want the snow coming down from the north, or from the northeast would be even better. But the snow yesterday was caused by a front moving up from the south or the southwest, and where that front met the cold air that we've had coming down from the north, that turned the rain into snow. And it did snow a lot last night. There's probably been about 5, maybe 6 inches here actually. Whether the conditions are right in order to get cold weather migration of species like lapwing and fieldfare and skylarks is a cracking thing if you catch it on the right day. Get some big numbers, but that's rare. Cold weather migration is rare full stop now. I mean, we don't usually get the winter or the weather or the snow, and so you never know what you're going to get. One of the great things about visible migration of birds, you never know. Ideal conditions can sometimes bring nothing. So we'll await and see if anything happens. What I really need is a group of lapwing or something to go through low, or to hear lots of skylarks start chirruping away. But there appears to be nothing at the moment, not even anything local. But cold weather movements can sometimes not even begin until late in the morning. And at the moment it's 10:39. It's that clingy kind of snow today. All the trees, at least that aren't exposed, have a covering of snow, like clingy snow, even on wires and things like that. Looks absolutely beautiful. But I do like a wintry sort of landscape view such as this view over the village of Eakring. The solitary fieldfare just drifts over. Nothing is happening at the moment, but it's nice just to get out in weather like this, if it's safe to do so on the roads. Unfortunately, with the slow thaw that is present at the moment, it is safe to get out and about. I was planning a day at home, but I'd rather be out here just in case something happens. If you're not out to see it, you don't know that it's ever happened. It's a small group of fieldfare. There's nothing consistent or definite. The fieldfare that I've seen have really just been wandering around the Eakring area. Visible migration, or birds involved in it, usually occurs at quite a low altitude. They don't go high in the sky. In the mid-1990s, Paul Naylor and myself had the most astonishing morning of cold weather movements. It was sort of, might have been 1995 or 96, something like that. And I remember it being New Year's Eve, and I had hair then, and it started off nice enough, started off very cold. We had a snow shower, and then we had lots of snow, and my hair was in frozen dreadlocks. And the snow came down, continued to come down, heavy snow, and the cloud base lowered. It became murky, and in that murk was the most astonishing movement of birds. And it turns out that in Nottinghamshire it was only Paul and myself that witnessed it. We were the only ones daft enough, I suppose, to be out. But what a morning it was. Well over 1,000 skylarks, I remember. And that's astonishing in Nottinghamshire, but there were fieldfares as well. Everything was moving. It was the most amazing day. It really was. Cold and wet, but the whole event, when anything happens like that, it doesn't matter what the weather is, it doesn't dampen your enthusiasm, and it leaves you with a really good warm feeling inside at the end of it, because you've witnessed it. And what a time we had that day. There's not been a day like it in terms of cold weather movement, although I've not been in the bird watching scene for well over a decade now, and I doubt, to be honest, whether Nottinghamshire will ever see one again, because there are very few people willing to be out there in the weather to put themselves out to record such an event. Plus, it's not very often we get days like this. There's nothing moving. Nothing even locally sort of field hopping. I've heard one skylark, but in terms of cold weather movement, it's definitely not happening. I thought there might have been at least a little something, but there's not even been that. Nothing to tantalise me. A birdless sky again. course, you need the birds to be in the right place to be affected by the cold weather. And are those birds there? Lapwings have declined enormously. Golden plover, that's another species that you could count on days like this moving through. All ground feeding species. But you really need a good blanket of snow either coming down from the north ideally or the northeast. And that pushes things south, if those things are there at all. Completely birdless skies. I really thought there might be something, but there's been nothing. No evidence or signs of any cold weather movement or even any local movement associated with the snowy conditions. Nice to see a bit of snow again, and at least I've not slipped over and fell on my arse. Snow's alright when you're young. When you're young, you can fall over, you can bounce straight back up. When you get over 60, you fall over, you bust your hip. Well, it's not happened. No cold weather movement or movement of any kind, to be honest, just the odd bird, but they were just local movements. Disappointing. Anyway, it would be nice to have caught some kind of cold weather migration today, but it's just not happened. So it's my turn to migrate now back home, back to a nice cup of tea, I think. And if you're wondering about the lack of a coat, I haven't worn a coat since 2012. That was when I used to birdwatch regular and stand out here at Eakring for hours and days on end. So, home it is.